So there's a lot of problems in our society today with criminal justice reform, with homelessness reform, with small businesses struggling to make it work. A lot of businesses in Sugar House are going under due to construction. We can address all these topics with this awesome guest we have on our show today, Joshua. Tell me how to pronounce your last name.
Lucero.
Or
Lucero. Lucero is how everyone else says it.
Cool. Thanks for joining me today,
Yeah,
Josh.
thanks for having me.
Thanks for putting up with our time and trying to get everything set up.
Yeah, no worries. Perfect.
So you have this incredible story that you shared with me that just exemplifies overcoming really tough adversity to do something incredible. Can you just go into, I don't know, maybe as far back as being in high school, how you originally started getting into trouble?
Yeah. It actually didn't start in high school. It started after, which was kind of wild. I was like a perfect kid in high school. I grew up in Phoenix, and we were like Mormon, kind of like Jack Mormon, but I was like the perfect kid that followed every rule, that did everything perfectly. And then we moved to Utah, and I think I rebelled a little bit. There was a lot of contention coming out as well. There was just like a lot of emotions going on.
You came out of the closet.
I came out of the closet.
Told your family.
Yeah.
And was your family cool with it, or just like
kind
of with the community?
Kind of. My mom, she's not Mormon at all, and she kind of was like, "Oh, I've known forever." I'm like, "Cool." My grandma, though, who raised us, I got outed from my aunt to her, and she was not okay with it at first. Now she watches RuPaul's Drag Race. She likes it all, so she doesn't care. But at first it was really difficult. We lived together. We didn't talk for 6 or 7 months, maybe even longer. I had a boyfriend. I was my senior year of high school, and I had a boyfriend, and she wanted him to not come over, nothing to do with it. She never asked questions. Didn't care.
Was your grandma Mormon?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So she was pretty heavily involved in the church. And
yeah. Well, I say that, but then like later on, years later down the road, we find out that she actually never was. She had all these backstories that came up that she never talked about and didn't tell anyone. It's actually been crazy.
So does my grandma.
Oh yeah, it's wild. Like
came
kids
out after she died. All this other stuff. Yeah, that's crazy.
My grandma's not dead yet, so she's like having to deal with it.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I just grew up in a very poor family, and I just had this different idea around money, I guess, and I had a really bad relationship with money and how to get money, and so. I had a few like marijuana charges. I mean, they said that I was trying to deal marijuana, and I had like barely enough to even like smoke.
Just to back up a little bit, what was your sort of dysfunctional relationship with money?
Yeah, just like never knowing and understanding money. I mean, we grew up so poor that I never got like an allowance or anything really like that. Like it was like you can go to the dollar store and get a toy, and I didn't realize like. I hear about other people's, like my husband's childhood and his relationship with money is so different than mine. Mm-hmm. Like I see money and I feel like I need to spend it for some reason. Mm-hmm. And my therapist and I are working on it, but it's a whole thing just but then I'm also afraid to spend it. It was like weird because I would want to have a lot of money. I never did. To me, like $100 at the time was like a lot of money. Now it's a very different idea around that, but I would get it and then I would just spend it. Mm-hmm. But then I'd be afraid that I spent it and I couldn't get it back.
You feel kind of guilty.
Yeah, like a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. It was weird. Yeah. I didn't understand it. And so as I started growing up and getting my own jobs and my own money and stuff like that, started buying things, whatever, I got to a point where I just didn't really have anything. So the first thing that happened was I stole a credit card. I was 20 and it was 19 or 20. Anyways, and it was a friend of mine. And it was a really bad decision. It ruined a whole friend group. It tore people apart, not even like just me and them, but other people. That was like one of the lowest points. I hit that. And then, so I got my first felony charge with that. And then I was in jail for 30 days. And then like a year later, I was paid out a severance paycheck from a company that went under. And the check bounced. And so because I had a criminal record, they charged me again for a fake, like fraudulent check.
Oh no.
Because the company it was insane. I don't even know.
Because you bounced a check?
Because I put the check in and they said this was a fake check because there was no account from it.
Oh, really?
And so they never told me that. So the check like sat in the account and they never like processed it. And then all of a sudden there was like a warrant out for my arrest, and it was all these things because they had reported it. And that was scary because I was living at home. One day, like 15 federal marshals came to the house, and I was like,
Holy
I'm
cow.
a 20-year-old little gay kid. Like, this is unnecessary.
Like Secret
It
Service.
literally was.
Wow.
And so they took me in, and that was where I was sentenced for a year. I got my second felony then, and I served a year in the Davis County Jail, and it was an eye-opening year. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about life. I thought I knew a lot. It's interesting. Like, I thought I knew a lot. I grew up very, very fast as a child because my mom was 14 when she had me. So I just knew a lot of things already about life. And then I went to jail and I was like, oh, this is how I actually need to apply these things.
So you learned a lot of positive things in jail.
Yeah. I think what my situation was when I got in there, like it was my rock bottom. I had nothing to my name. Whatever. I'd lost everything. No friends. It was a whole thing. And I chose to, like, how can I grow from this? There was a lot of shitty things that happened in there, obviously, and a lot of people who had not made great decisions.
And jail's pretty rough.
Jail's pretty rough.
It's pretty bad in there sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I was, when you go to jail, most people may not know this. You go to like a holding cell with just like general public, and then they decide where you go after that. And some of the what would you call them, the
communities,
the cells that they're all grouped together, have their own scary things that went on. The very first time I ever went to jail, I was in a cell with this guy who was very well known for killing his stepson. Wow. And I had no idea. And they put me, it was the holding place where people were going to prison. And I literally there was no reason for me to be in there. So anyways, then I was in here. I actually was able to get my way into working at the jail. So I worked in the kitchen for a little bit. And then they have a program that is actually outside of the jail. It's a separate building. It's called the Work Center. And I served most of my time in there. I did every single job. I was, cleaning up cow manure at the fairgrounds. I was cleaning up trash along the streets. I was doing all these things. But yes, when I was in there, I learned one thing, like poker was a big thing. We weren't supposed to gamble, but we did. And so I know playing poker sounds crazy, but I learned how to play this game, which taught me so much more about math just in general. And so now I can do like a multiplication number just off the top of my head most of the time, or addition number.
Was it Texas Hold'em? Or?
Yeah, mm-hmm, yeah. It's been a long time, but yeah. So there was a lot of that. There was also, I read so many books. I probably read 150 books.
Wow.
And I think the big thing that I realized was there was other people in there that were gay, but they were too afraid to even say anything. They were afraid to even talk to anyone. And so after a while, when you're in jail, it's kind of crazy. It's its own political system. It's crazy. When you're in jail, no matter where you're at, the longer time you're in there, the more that you become, I don't know, like a leader in there. Mm-hmm. So I had been there for so long at like the 6-month mark that everyone else had transitioned out. Most of them were there for drugs. And so they were in rehab. And so they were going to do rehab stuff.
This is a tangent, but isn't it also really rare to spend a whole year in jail? Yeah. Like you usually go to prison and serve a prison term, but you were in jail all that time because you never got a prison sentence. Is that why? I
had technically had a 0 to 5, but I wrote a whole letter saying I would not survive if I went to prison. And so they were like, okay, we'll stay here for a year. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I just know that I was sentenced there and I was able to go work. But it was crazy though. I had chose to befriend the biggest, toughest guys in there because that was the smartest thing to do, I think, at the time. But what happened was my sister's dad had served a lot of time in prison. Most of these guys already knew who I was because of that, which this is what I'm saying. There's a whole political system that goes on in there. So there's a guy would come. I remember this guy coming. We called him Bull. Really big, tough Native American guy. He's actually not big. He's very short. And he was like, hey, so-and-so told me to come find you. Are you Lucero? And I was like, what am I getting into? And he was like, no, I'm here to like back you up and protect you and stuff. I was like, okay, great. which was kind of weird, but also like was very grateful for it. Mm-hmm. And then under that, I learned just a lot about the ins and outs of how to do things properly and how to not do things illegally, but properly. Because a lot of people do things illegally still in prison and jail.
What do you mean by properly?
Like when they do certain things for commissary, when they do different work sessions, how to do it to where it's like kind of in your favor. So instead of me having to go do like work on the fairgrounds, I was able to opt into working on the docks, which is where the big truck comes in to load up the kitchen. And that was the best job in the whole program. And I don't know how, I just kind of maneuvered my way in. I think my charm, honestly, I'm not going to lie, because the guards loved me and I got a lot of slack for that. But I was like, listen, these guards love me. They were bringing me like Starbucks on random days, just putting it in the back of the dock. And so I got to that. And so I think in my brain, I naturally was like, if I can move up through this, how can I move up through other things?
Yeah.
But like I said, being a leader in there, it ended up being where I was like making decisions for the group in some ways, which was also very politically charged. Like one side didn't want something, the other side did. There was two sides of it. So there was the rehab side and then the work side. And you couldn't go across, and it was just all these things. People were wanting to sell drugs. They would come to me to ask if they could sell drugs, and I would say no, because I don't want to be involved with that. And it would be, if Josh said no, don't do it because this so-and-so will find out or whatever.
I gotta ask this, even though you might not want to answer. Yep. Were you able to bring in contraband through the docks? That's just my first thought.
Was I able to? Yeah. I could have, but I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I know people, one of the guys I worked with, he did all the time. Mm-hmm. But I just was like, I want to get out as quick as possible. And I don't want to get any trouble. Because there was a time that I did get in trouble. It was my 21st birthday. Yeah, in jail. Worst thing ever. But this guy was trying to like give me like a lap dance of some sort. It was weird. So I pushed him off of me, and they saw it on the camera and they thought I was attacking him. So they actually sent me to solitary confinement. So inside jail, they do a kangaroo court. And so it's like court for any charges that happen inside jail. Mm-hmm. Unless it's like something crazy criminal, then you go back to the judges, whatever. And they had asked me what happened. And this guy, the whole time, this guy had been really weird with me, like not making advances, but would say really weird sexual things. And it just felt uncomfortable. And I told them that, and they were like, okay, so we're going to put that you felt like you were being, I don't know, abused that way. And I was like, if that's what you want to put, like, they were like, well, it's either you do that and you can come back, or you don't say that and you have to stay here. And I was like, okay, you can put that. I'll go back. So that I was in solitary confinement for 2 days, and that was crazy. And so then I went back to the work center and finished. I was there for 10 months. I didn't serve a full year, so I got out on good time. Mm-hmm. Which at first they weren't going to give it to me, but they changed their minds, which they can do whenever they want. So while I was in jail, though, the biggest thing that I did was learn how to cut hair. And so Bull, the guy that I had met, was like, you're gay, you can cut hair. I was like, oh, I don't think that's how that works, but let's try it. So he gave me a comb, like they have these really cheap plastic combs, and a razor blade. And you pop open a razor blade, like a shaving, like with 3 blades in it. If you pop it open, you can break those blades out, which was the whole thing. That could have been bad. But you just slide it on the comb, and you kind of can fade someone's hair just like that. Doesn't feel very good, but it works. And so I was doing that, and like, I think that was probably month 3 I started kind of doing that, and people were paying me. We had money in there. We had vending machines. It was a little bit nicer than in normal jail. I was in jail for like 2 months. That was not very
And you
fun.
had access to blades, and that wasn't a problem.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So, because you had to return the razors. It was like a whole thing. So
okay.
He learned how to put them back together. It was, I don't even know how it worked. But people were paying me, and it was like a whole thing. And I was, got to a point where one of the guards found out that I was doing it, because she was like, why do all these guys have haircuts? Like, no one's getting a haircut. And I was like, oh, fuck. And she asked me, like, and her and I were kind of friends. She gave me a nickname, and everyone stuck with it, Lucy. So now whenever I hear that, it's like kind of triggering, but it's happened a couple times in public where somebody's like recognized me and they said that, and I was like, oh, we're not going back there. This is crazy. But she had asked me, and I told her, I was like, well, they asked me if I could do haircuts, and I said sure. And she was like, how are you doing it? And I was like, I don't want to tell you. She's like, what if I bring clippers in? Will you stop doing it the way you're doing it? I said sure. So she brought clippers in, and then I just kind of started cutting hair that way.
Interesting.
So,
So this is a lot different story than I thought it was.
yeah.
I thought we were going to be promoting the whole idea of a program, an official program in jail that helped you learn a trade.
They do have that.
That wasn't it at all, though.
Yeah,
you learned it by doing something on the slide, and you created a demand for your service, and then they validated it.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a program to teach people in jail specifically. I think it's more of a prison thing.
Yeah, that's a prison thing.
Yeah,
I think
because they don't,
some vocational skills.
In jail, they don't give you any real opportunities to do anything like that. Because most of the time when you're in jail, like you said, you're not in there for longer than a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of the time, they don't expect you to.
That's really interesting. So you went into jail with very little confidence, with probably feeling like shit, but you actually built your confidence, built your faith in yourself that you could be a leader, and you had a skill, but that really wasn't by any official programs or anything. No. It was just kind of luck of the draw.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because like I remember in high school, I was voted most likely to succeed, which I don't know how or why, but then I look back and I'm like, oh, I guess I did that here, and then I did it again here, and then I did it again here. So I guess it makes sense. But yeah, well,
there's something to be said for the idea of street smarts. Like they measure IQ, and you kind of learn through school how if you're either a good test taker or you're not a good test taker, determines on whether you're going to get AP placement. But street smarts are really kind of what you just described, knowing how to maneuver, knowing how to play little political games here and there, knowing how to just kind of get what you need and want. And so obviously you discovered you had that.
Yeah. Like I said, growing up, I mean, I remember driving my mom home from the bar at 12 years old. And that was just a whole situation, that feeding the other kids that my mom had, like it was a whole thing. So I feel like I learned that kind of early on, but didn't understand that. And then in jail, it was like, oh no, these are the skills that I have to learn for myself, I guess. So it's kind of interesting. You bring up like street smarts and book smarts. Like I meet people who are like very well educated, blah, blah, blah. And they just think my experience is so wild, which it is. But I think their experience is also so wild. I couldn't imagine being in school for 8 years after high school. I mean, now maybe I could because I'm older and more mature. I tried going to college and did not work for me. No.
So how long before you decided to start your own barbershop? Was it right after?
No, I got out over 10 years ago. So it's been 10, 11 years. I didn't even think I was going to do hair when I got out. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, I have 2 felonies. I have nothing to my name. I have no credibility in anything. I did try to go to school for a semester, I think, at Slick, and hated it. I just my brain couldn't try to understand how to learn that way, I guess. I don't know. I was very book smart, and then I think that experience changed that for me. And then I was just like, okay, I'll go to hair school because I've already kind of learned a little bit. And maybe I'll get a job real quickly at Great Clips, and then eventually figure out how to get rid of my felonies, and then go figure out a better job or something, go back to school. And that did not happen that way. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about how you initiated. It's called Lucero, just
Lucero Hair Wellness.
Yeah. How you decided to start your salon and develop this totally different business model than most barbershops and salons.
Yeah. Lucero sometimes is like a fever dream. I don't even know really I do know, but so I've been doing hair now since I've gotten out, so almost 12 years. And I thought it was just going to be like a job. I thought like, I'll just go, like I said, go to Great Clips or whatever and just get out and get done. I started working in barbershops. I started working in salons. I've done booth rent, I've done commission, I've done it all. And then I opened my own studio in 2020, in January. And that was a crazy experience because then I had 3 months off of work, unpaid. So I had to learn how to, again, be scrappy and maneuver through that, which was a whole situation. But through that process, I had worked at all these barbershops and I had worked at salons, and I was like realizing like, I want to be a leader that I never had. So 2020, I was talking about opening something bigger. The idea was there. I didn't know enough about how much money it would take. Like I didn't understand that. Again, that relationship with money, still learning about that. And then realized, oh, like I need like $200,000 to even make anything at the time that I wanted to happen. Didn't work out. 2022, 2023, after I met my husband, we were kind of just like talking about things. And I was like, I really want to open something bigger. I really want something that we can offer for community members that don't receive the services that they should, as well as for people that aren't being led the way that they should. So a lot of the times you go into a traditional salon, it's either booth rent or they pay you a low commission, things like that. All of our employees are employees. So they're paid as employees, but they get paid based off of their commissions. It's a whole roundabout way of making it work. As well as our studio does not charge by gender. So we don't do a men's and women's haircut like a traditional barbershop or traditional salon. And I felt like the reason I was wanting to do that is because I had long hair at one point. And for me to book a haircut, I had to book a women's haircut.
Interesting.
And it made me think like, why are women paying more for a haircut when it takes just as long, if not less time, if they're not doing all the extra stuff, to cut the hair?
Yeah, good point.
So I did a lot of research. There was a lot of programs that I was kind of like watching on social media, seeing what they were doing. I liked some of the ideas. I tried doing this coaching program. Didn't love all their ideas. So I was like, how can I pick and choose how I want this to work? So I kind of like did the Venn diagram where it matches up. And I said, these are all the things that past leaders did that I did not like. These are all the things that, businesses do that I don't like. Where can I meet in the middle of things that can work for me? And so I made the initiative to open Lucero as, I didn't think it was honestly going to be as big as it is now. I mean, it's blown my mind, but we started with 5 people. I didn't think I was going to have anyone to work with me. I think I started with 6. And when I started, it was, very like grassroots people I knew for the most part that I hired, no one that I didn't really know. So it was like kind of friends that I had worked with in the past or have been recommended to me. Mm-hmm. And half of them are still with us, which is crazy because normally in our industry, it's very high turnover rate. You're either there for 25 years or you're new place every couple of years. So I think what we created is really just something different that no one's ever worked at before. And I hear it from my employees. I hear it from other salon and barbershop owners. A big thing I got told before we opened was like we wouldn't make it past a year. Not a lot, but a handful of like friends were like, your business model won't work. You won't make it past a year. And we're almost 3 years and we'll hit $500,000 in revenue this year. It's the whole thing.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, sorry, $1 million in revenue. Sorry, not $500,000.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. So, it's crazy to think that for me, I chose to lead with transparency, vulnerability, being open, not trying to be controlling of like situations. So a lot of times if like there's an issue, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell you how to fix it. What's your solution first? Because I don't know all the answers. I was just talking to my friend and she owns a salon and she's like, yeah, but I want to do it all my way. And I'm like, but your way is not always the right way. Like, because that's what I've learned. I don't do everything that I don't do color. I have stylists that do color. I should not be making decisions on that. Mm-hmm. Take that as you will. But a lot of the times, like they'll come to me with an issue and I say, okay, I don't have experience with this issue. I don't know how to change the toner or whatever it is. But what's your solution? How can we break it down? And then I usually walk through it. So on top of that, we do quarterly coaching. We do a lot of different things that I never received that I always wanted to receive. And it's just been fun. Like we have never had drama. We've never had any issues. We have a very diverse team. We have a very diverse clientele. And I think that's why we've done so well. It's because we've found a community of people that weren't receiving the services that were working for them. A lot of the times we have clients that come in, they're like, because they are perceived as female, no one would give them the haircuts they want if they wanted to get fade, even at a barbershop. And barbershops have told them they can't cut their hair before.
So LGB and also T.
All of them. LGBTQ,
every
yeah, all
single
of them. Yeah.
letter.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So yeah, there's been just a lot of, it's been a really big, I cry a lot because of my business, because of what it's doing. And we do a lot of events where right now we're planning our third gender-free haircut club. It's an event for LGBTQ youth to receive free haircuts, makeup. There's a whole fashion center. And it's insane to see what these kids come in kind of like deflated, and they leave just, they strut down a runway. It's a whole thing. And I'm sobbing the entire time.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we really try to create a space that anyone, it's an inclusive space. So inclusivity, though, I think is a definition that has been pushed to think it's only for LGBTQ people, but inclusivity really means every single person. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story. I think what I want to do is take a little break. In our next segment, we'll talk about some of the issues we've been covering, criminal justice reform, homelessness, and kind of get your take from your lived experience, which I think is really valuable to offer insight into those things. So we'll be right back. Okay. This podcast is brought to you in part by Clark's Auto, Utah's premier independent Subaru repair shop. Check them out at clarksautofix.com. Josh, thanks again for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I've got on this screen, can you show the camera 3 screen? So obviously learning a trade in jail or prison reduces recidivism rates a lot. Prison education programs, even adult education programs, it says, vocational and college programs estimate their impact to recidivism rates on employment rates and wages. They found collectively that 148 programs studied in these papers resulted in significant decreases in recidivism for prisoners who participated, along with a dynamic increase in employment and wages after release. So when you went into prison, Josh...
Jail, not prison.
Oh, jail. Sorry.
Yeah. Very big difference.
You did not think you were going to go in and learn leadership and or any vocational trade, but you made that happen, which if anybody wants to listen to the backstory. But do you think that should be a much more organized and sustainable program that the jails even offer, and besides just prisons? Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of a nuanced question, because I think so, yes. But then you look at it, who's going to pay for it? There's that whole question. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of conversations on inmates being paid for their time in some ways, or making money that's going on their commissary. It's like, where is that money coming from? But I do think there are ways to offer programs to help people. I know they have a GED program. They might have had others, but the thing is, they don't tell you. And I think a lot of the problems with the criminal justice system is just that. They don't tell you, and they don't care to tell you.
Now, they don't tell you if there are programs?
No.
They're not going to let you know?
Yeah, no. There's no board with your next session that you can go to.
You don't have a school counselor when you go in?
No. So it's, getting, like I had talked about, getting into the work center was difficult already. You have to submit like 3 applications. You have to do an interview. You have to have no certain criminal charges. And they're very strict. They'll kick you out in a heartbeat. And so if there were options for vocational training, so I mean, obviously I learned how to cut hair on my own. No one taught me how to do that there. And then I went out and did it. I haven't had a crime since then. I haven't committed any crimes. I haven't gone back to jail. I haven't had any issues. And so that turnover rate, I think, is something that should be looked at more and talked about more. When people are given an opportunity to do something, I think it changes the way they perceive themselves.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times, especially like I hear from people all the time that who are felons are like, I'll never get a job. I can't do that. I can't do what you're doing. I'm like, you can't do what I'm doing, but I have 2 felonies and I now have a career and I own a business and homes and all these things. And if I can do it, anyone should be able to do it. I think a lot of the issue is, for me, I'm just an overachiever. Now in my life, I'm like a perfectionist in a lot of ways. I like to do everything, like make sure everything is always happening. I never slow down.
Just do this.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. You're good.
I never slow down. My husband always says, can you just stop saying yes to everything? I can't, but I think for me, it was do all these things or you will end up back in the system. You will end up back in jail.
Interesting. Like channel that energy into
Mhm.
something.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you'll channel it into bad things.
exactly. Because I think the vocational rates of, the rates of people receiving vocational education and being not back in the system, I think that's one small factor. But I think the bigger factor to look at is like the amount of people who are going back into jail. And why is that? A lot of the times it's drug related. Fortunately, I didn't have that issue, but a lot of the people I knew, I was there for so long that I saw people leave and come back. They were in the program, leave, got out of jail, would come back into the program. And it was just, no one's there to really help them. They go into a rehab center kind of thing, but I don't believe that there's enough giving them the options to see how they can actually grow.
Yeah.
I think there could be a lot of really great connections with the technical colleges and having them somehow collaborate in some ways. Because I mean, the tech colleges, they give free scholarship programs to high school students. I got my CNA through them, through the DATC. And so I don't know why they couldn't do that for folks coming out of the system.
Sorry, those acronyms. CNA was
certified nursing assistant.
Oh, you did?
I did that when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was like my first job.
And you were an overachiever in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And so you kind of had already this methodology for channeling your energy into something positive.
Yeah.
But what about these people who really have no confidence in their skills, really don't think, have perhaps been neglected, abused, whatever, they've been told that they're worthless.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a way you can train or give somebody even the most simple skill that's going to help them restore their confidence, so when they get out, they're going to do more positive things?
Yeah. I think what would be great if someone were to come ask me right now, what do I think should happen? How can you help? Whatever. I think what would be a huge thing is for them to see other people that have been where they're at achieving things now. I think that's a big factor. I think a lot of the times we don't realize how much like representation changes our mindset. When we see someone doing something that is technically us or where we were at, doing things that we never thought we could do, I think that's a huge.
I think you just nailed it.
Yeah, and I don't think they do that at all.
Yeah, to show role models,
right,
who were exactly where you were,
right,
where you are,
yeah,
and they got somewhere.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Yeah.
To show these case studies and role models, that's kind of why we do, a big part of why we do this program.
Yeah.
Is a lot of people, they get out, they start engaging with the same community they were in when they were getting into trouble. They don't have any new skills. They don't have anything new to bring to their lives. And so they just go right back on the same path they were on.
Yep.
And so, in your opinion, you think vocational programs could
I think it would change the trajectory for a lot of people. I think it would change a lot of people's lives. I mean, there was people that, drugs are such a hard thing that a lot of people cannot just get out of. And I think it's because they're not given these opportunities. A lot of times people won't even give them a job because of that. And so if you were able to teach them a skill that no one else can do, think about all of the plumbing and electrical and welding and all these other things that they need these people for. No one wants to do them because everyone thinks you need a college degree in a lot of ways. But these careers are making way more money than your business degree got you. Electricians are being paid like $150 an hour, which is crazy to me.
I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. The mechanics right now are in such short supply. They can earn $30 an hour, even with just entry level.
Right. So I think just offering that or figuring out a way to bring people back, not bring people back, but bringing people in as role models, like you said, to showcase what they're able to do and give them clear direction on how to do it. I think the biggest issue with the criminal justice system is clarity on how to do anything. The hardest thing that I've ever experienced is trying to go through an expungement, which I'm still in the process of. I've tried to do one and it lapsed because they only give you a certain amount of time. And then you have to go through hoops to get it. And because I have 2 felonies, I can't get an expungement. There's all these things. I had to hire a lawyer. And because I have 2, I can't get an expungement. but I can expunge the misdemeanors, the 2 misdemeanors that I have. And once I have those expunged, then I can apply for a pardon. But a pardon only usually works for one. It's a whole thing. And so the justice system, there's no one there to help you.
Yeah.
There's no direction. There's nowhere you can look like, how do I do this? Like, so I have a client who's a lawyer, and he's helping me with it right now. And he's just like, yeah, it's literally, you have to shoot through hoops.
There's a special law firm. I'm going to look them up because they were on this program about a year ago, and they're all about helping people get expungements.
Is it RASA?
RASA
Yeah.
Legal.
Yeah, so
No,
they're
I'm so
great,
glad you-
but they can't help you if you have felonies. They can't help you do pardons.
Oh, really?
They can only do, because I've already looked into it, and they told me I didn't qualify because I have 2 felonies. So that's why it's...
Well, a lot of people say the reason they're homeless is they have 2 felonies.
Right.
They can't qualify for any housing.
Right. Yeah.
And you found otherwise.
Yeah. Honestly, it's hard when I hear that because I never had any holdups with that stuff. I've lived in apartments on my own, and I never had them tell me no because of that. And personally, I've only had one job, which was an office job that I've ever applied for. I've always worked in like tech kind of things. Like, so the one job that I applied for was like, yeah, you can't work because of this. But if it was like 8 years out, you can. It's all these weird misconstrued rules. So if you have a felony, you can't technically work at some places, or the background check won't show up for like 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like a whole thing. But then sometimes it does show up. See, there's no like clear consistency.
Yeah. I don't know. When I hear that from the homeless interviews I've done, that I'm on the streets because I can't qualify for any housing, I usually look at that person and I can tell they're a drug user. And I look at my own background in screening people if I don't want to rent to drug addicts.
Yeah.
It's just period.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard, fast rule for a lot of landlords.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the bigger problem.
For sure.
But switching gears a little bit and talking about homelessness, obviously that's one of the biggest problems we have in our city right now. We have a lot of people coming and congregating in the city now and in our parks who are homeless drug addicts and have mental illness. You said you were homeless for a little while growing up. What, describe that experience? What was that like?
Yeah, just when I was a child, I remember it, not extremely vividly. Well, I do remember parts of it, but my mom was just always with a different guy all the time. So we were always like moving. We lived at home, but then like randomly she would move us somewhere else. I remember she got in a fight with this guy that she was living with, and he was like, "You have to get out now." And we were like, "What?" Like, and she was like, my mom was a really big rebel. She's crazy.
Was your dad the Mormon?
I didn't know my dad until I was 27.
Oh, your mom was Mormon.
No,
Or not
she was not Mormon.
You guys were super Jack Mormon then.
Yeah, my grandma was the one that raised us mainly.
Oh, God.
When my mom decided to do these things, she would get a little crazy and just do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, my grandma raised us LDS Mormon. My mom was a smoker, drinker. I mean, she had me at 14, so if that says anything.
That's pretty young.
Yeah, very not there. So, but I remember her not wanting to move back. We lived with my uncle, my grandma, and she never got along with him. It was lots of trauma, lots of drama. And so she was like, well, we're just going to try to make it through. And I was like, what? And I had a little sister. And I was just like, oh, what are we supposed to do? Like, I don't even think my sister remembers because she was so little. I know she doesn't because I've asked her.
You said you were 10?
Yeah, I was like 8 or 10, yeah, in that range.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, there's no way we can do this. Like, what do you mean? I've already tried to I've raised you for this long. Like, I can't do all this now. Like, what? So in my brain, logically, I knew that this wasn't going to work. Like, I was going to figure out a way to get back to my grandma's house. And so I remember her trying to find like her old friends that she used to have. And my mom's never been a drug addict, but she did have a lot of like friends who were drug addicts. A lot of meth use, a lot of heroin use. And I remember watching it. It was very insane. But my mom never did it, which was kind of interesting. So my mom did drink a lot and smoke and did all those other things. But so I remember her trying to find these friends that she could try to live with. but they were all homeless too. It was a weird domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And she just kept trying to do that for days, like trying to find these friends. And we were just like, we were under like a carport shelter. We were by a Safeway dumpster one time. And the thing I remember the most was how scary some of these people acted towards like me and my sister. And just how kind of aggressive they were about certain things. They're very protective of their stuff. And so my mom coming in and barging in like the way she was, didn't usually always end up the way she wanted to. There was times where she kind of got beat up and my sister and I didn't know what to do. So we just kind of ran.
Crazy. Wow.
Wild. Eventually she just gave up.
Sleeping on the streets?
Oh yeah. We slept just like right next to the trash cans and yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And then eventually I just remember her breaking down. I was like, we have to go back home.
And you were in Phoenix when you were homeless?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And so we went back home. So,
yeah, that's crazy. It's nuts to see kids who are homeless with their parents.
Yeah.
And obviously DCFS does not allow that very often.
Yeah.
Usually they're going to put them in foster till they get back on their feet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the experience we went through when we worked with DCFS in the foster program.
Yeah.
But what do you think is, when you look at this problem and the growing homeless population in downtown in Liberty Park, you see more of them filtering in through Jailhouse. And unfortunately, a lot of them are kind of wreaking havoc on small businesses because if they're on fentanyl, they're kind of out of their minds and they're just doing really crazy stuff that scares a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do you see any like common sense solutions that we should be doing that we're not doing?
You know, there was a time where I think they were asking people what they should do with the ballpark. Mm-hmm. And I had this whole idea, like they should turn it into like a vocational rehab home and have people who are homeless come in and they have these rooms that they could stay in for free, but they have to be learning a program. They have to be working at their store or whatever, kind of like what the Other Side Academy does in those kind of programs.
Yeah.
I just think there should be more education, especially in Utah, on drug abuse and the mental health that it causes, the issues that it causes, because I think it's so suppressed that a lot of the times, I was just talking about this, a lot of the times people leave the church and they're like really big drinkers or they do a lot of drugs because they were so suppressed for so long that they don't have a relationship with it. So it's like me with money. And I just don't think there's a lot of conversation around, like they tell you it's bad, obviously, but I mean, when they were making choices, people were making choices for the liquor laws here who didn't even drink. And that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is just lack of education and lack of understanding. I also think that there could be a lot of ways that organizations in Utah could help support that. Billion-dollar industries that could help change that trajectory in a lot of ways.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, why not turn the ballpark into that?
Right.
I mean, it's like one of the fears, I think, of the city council at this point is if they open up any new homeless resource centers anywhere in Salt Lake City, it just downgrades the neighborhood, downgrades the property values. Everybody gets upset. The homeless resource center, I think it's the Gail Miller that's near the ballpark. A lot of people blame that for the bees moving out. And but I think that's a great idea. Obviously, these people need more than just apartments, more than just a free apartment.
Right.
That's where I got in trouble online today.
Yeah.
I put there needs to be a line drawn between compassion and enabling.
Right.
There is no clear distinction right now. If you are giving a person food, shelter, everything they need, soft, warm bed, a warm pillow, and then also the ability to use drugs every day. I do not call that compassion. I think that's enabling. And I'm severely attacked on our own account today. I'm getting ratioed for that opinion. But maybe I didn't make that opinion clear enough. But do you agree that you should have strings attached if you're getting a free apartment, that you need to get off drugs?
I think it does make sense. I mean, anytime you go, if you're working for a job, you have to stay within the boundaries of what that job allows. If you're working, or if you're in school and if you don't turn in an assignment, you're not going to get the grade. So I think a lot of the times giving these options for people who need it is great. It's compassionate. We want to feel good about ourselves, but then offering and not having structured rules on what they can and can't do, I think just leads them back into the system again and again. I think that comes back into the lack of education. We're not teaching them in these programs, like, if you continue to do drugs, this is what will happen. I mean, they may know, but there's not enough whereabouts of understanding of what that actually does. I just don't think too, when they're in these programs, like if they were told, you can get this house, you can get food, you can't do drugs. What you can do though is take these 8-week courses on learning how to do whatever, learning how to build self-confidence, learning how to change the where you are at now into something else. Because I just don't think unfortunately, my story is really cool for people because it is a comeback story. And unfortunately, not a lot of people have that opportunity to have a comeback story, I guess. Because I just don't think we create the opportunity. Like I said, I just go to do it.
And to me, the whole way permanent supportive housing, the free apartments we give homeless people, is completely bass backwards. I think first you go through 90-day detox. Then you get in an apartment conditional on working,
right?
Even if it's a really low level job,
just
something to get you out of the apartment, keep you busy, keep you occupied, and you're paying rent. And the Other Side Academy, like you said, I think that is the perfect template that the government programs should follow. But they don't want to follow that template because most of the people in permanent supportive housing have this thing called disability. And that disability is their crutch. And as soon as they throw that crutch out, they no longer get that government check. They no longer qualify for permanent supportive housing. You're out on the street, you're on your own. And that's a real legitimate fear. You're going to lose that disability. You're going to then be, swimming with the sharks again. And so I unfortunately, I'm just doing enough coverage on this issue. The government programs are a failure, obviously, because they're not enabling people. They're keeping people trapped in this disability mindset.
It's hard. Like we're actually we're actually partnering with the Other Side Academy and offering free haircuts for the folks who are going to do job applications.
Oh, cool.
And I did a whole tour with them and they showed me everything. And it was kind of really surreal. Like I was in jail and they will also have, everyone who works there has been in jail. The person who started it was in jail for drug addictions, I believe. And anyone who works there, the people who I toured with, they were like, I was a drug addict for 10 years. I was in prison for 5 years. And now they're like the director of the Other Side Academy. So it was really cool to see and connect with people like that, because honestly, I don't have a lot of opportunities to connect with people like me, I guess. And so it was cool to see them they were like, it's crazy to see other people outside of this program do that too. So again, the way that they're doing it, I think is really great. And I think that there's so much more opportunity for that to happen. I think there's just a lack of resources for education and understanding of how these things work for the people in these situations, like offering them more understanding. I think, yes, they may understand.
Do you think there's also a deficiency so the Other Side Academy gets a lot of criticism too, because they hold every student highly accountable for their personal actions, for their decisions. And they call the Other Side Academy a behavior boot camp, because the reason why they say most of the people are in their program is not addiction so much, not trauma so much as it is their behavior was never, and their emotional intelligence was never developed as a child or a young adult. That they didn't learn how to take criticism. They didn't learn how to use their words. They didn't learn how to control their emotions. And so, but with the Other Side Academy, you can get kicked out because they just have to have a line. And in the government programs, that line is extremely fuzzy. But do you think personal accountability is one of the keys to making people actually transform their lives?
I want to say yes, because it works for me, I think. yeah, you had mentioned like traumas from childhood and stuff like that. I think that's just a whole other basket too that you can get into. And I think with that idea is parents that are my parents' age, I guess, not millennials, but older, but not Gen X or whatever. I think that was a really transitional period for parents, at least from my understanding, what I experienced with my parents and people who are my age who are like, I have so much trauma. Why do millennials have so much trauma? And I think it's because of the generation before. I don't know what it was or what it happened, but even like my Gen Z employees and workers, like, it's just interesting to hear how our parents have affected us so much. And accountability, if you didn't see someone else doing it, why would you do it? And so I think a lot of the times when we don't have, again, that role model to look up to say, oh, this person did something amazing because they did self-accountability, they were able to understand that they made a mistake. Like, yes, I stole a credit card. Yes, these bad things happened to me. But a lot of it was because of my choice. And once I decided to accept that, I guess, was when things started to change for me. I think a lot of times victimhood is a big part of a lot of it, unfortunately. And I think from my experience from seeing it too, from people around me, it was always like, well, life's never going to get better. So why did I not just like shoot up? It's like, to me, that doesn't.
Yeah. And if you're festering with this idea that your mom and dad yelled at you too much, like my mom and dad, they yelled at me too much, so I'm a victim, or whatever it is, even if they beat you. I mean, even if you've gotten through horrible things, everybody, and I don't discount that people are victims. Certainly there are, but it is kind of like a spectrum, and the outcomes of people's lives are not at all correspondent to the level of trauma they suffered. So if you look at a victim spectrum, some of the people most traumatized end up being the most successful, and some of the people least traumatized end up using that as a reason why they're alcoholics for their whole lives. And so I think just looking at it from that standpoint, people need to work to get out of that victim mindset, even if you truly are a victim, because it empowers you to be able to move forward with your life and do amazing things, as you've proven.
I think being a leader now for a very diverse group of people, I really had to learn how to take my self-accountability and to teach it a lot of times, because that's not really something that's taught. You don't go to college for self-accountability. You don't go to college to learn how to overcome your traumas. A lot of that was my own personal development. And I think that's a program that should be offered in high school. You should be able to teach people how to do that. I mean, you can only teach so much of it, but there should be a way to help kids understand that, especially like nowadays. Like, from what I hear from nieces and nephews and younger folks of what happened to them in schools, I was like, I was kind of picked on for being like a little gay kid. But nowadays it's like a whole different ball game with social media and all this stuff, where kids, I have one of my sister's kids is like dealing with some gender identity and mental health stuff. And a lot of the times it's because they're being bullied on social media, and no one's teaching them, like, don't listen. Like, there's no way to teach someone self-confidence until I guess there is, if that makes sense.
Or resilience. Until you're kind of bullied.
Right.
I mean, I just, that whole mindset, that whole idea of resiliency has really kind of driven home, because you find some people who are young who are really resilient and tough. And you can give them criticism. They're still going to be fine. And then other people, you gotta just like walk on eggshells, because you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell this person this feedback without them breaking apart? It's a tough thing. And I mean, we've seen that, and it's just, and I don't think that's something that's taught either. Like how to raise kids more resilient.
It's interesting. Like, resilience is for me, it's a really powerful word. It's a lot of thinking back just on like where, like, you know, LGBTQ rights have come from. A lot of resilience comes from that. And I think I think people just don't know how to encourage someone to feel that way. I think for me, a lot of the times was like my own life was like, okay, we grew up very poor. All these different things happened to me. Never had a dad. Very like kind of abusive childhood. I would go to school, I'd get picked on, but I knew that if I was done with all this stuff, I would be better off without all these people. I'd be more successful than them, and I am. All the kids that I was in high school with. Well, I grew up in Phoenix in the ghetto, and some of them are like in gangs and stuff. It's like a whole thing. But I am doing a lot better than almost anyone that I know from high school. So,
yeah.
And my family, I'm obviously doing better than where I would have been as my parents and all those types of things. So,
well, you are a role model. I mean, it's a great story.
Yeah.
And anybody who's watching this, go back and watch the first segment to hear your story, because it's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Josh, and sharing.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else you wanted to share with folks, like your location?
Yeah. So again, Lucero Hair Wellness. We're an inclusive hair studio. We do everything from barbering to color to extensions, all the things. So you can book the time that you want. We're on 1095 South State Street in Salt Lake City. And yeah, we do lots of events. We do a lot of education for the community. We're currently offering community-led education classes. So someone from our team has offered to teach classes to our community members for free. And we send them home with a kit. Our next class is a shaving class for people. They get a whole shaving kit. It's a limited class because those kits are kind of expensive, and everything's out of pocket. But we're offering this so that community members, the biggest thing we hear is, I can never get it to look like you do. I can never get my shave to feel like you do, and all these things. And my brain was like, well, why are we not teaching them that? And so education is a big thing for me. I've talked about education a lot on this. Mm-hmm. So I think if we're teaching them how to do that, they won't struggle with learning how to shave. A lot of people, they didn't have a dad growing up. Most of them people don't know how to shave. Yeah. A lot of our trans clients, they don't know how to shave. So things like that we're offering. We've done we have a makeup class coming up and a skincare class.
Cool.
So yeah, come check us out.
I never learned to shave.
Yeah.
As you can tell.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, of course.
So please like, share, subscribe this episode. And if you want to be a bigger part of Utah Stories in our community, go out to utahstories.com, subscribe to our free digital newsletter. And if you would like to have our magazine delivered right to your home every single month, go subscribe to the magazine. If you become a member, not just a subscriber, but a member, we'll also send you Faces of Utah magazine. This has kind of become the definitive guide for entrepreneur success stories in Utah. And it's all these incredible stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, people doing amazing things. And I think you learn by example. I really never learned much from business books when I went to business classes. I think if you're interested in starting a business, learn from the people who've been successful, like Josh. I think you should probably be in here sometime soon. Okay. And go out, become a member. We'll send this to you. And it's a really nice asset to learn more about your community. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.